The month of March, I've been studying the incredible women of the Bible, and we're going to continue that study today with a New Testament character named Priscilla. I'd never heard of Priscilla until I did this study, but she is a pretty incredible story. Welcome back to my channel, Webs of Faith Elevate. My name is Abby, and let's dive into the story of Priscilla. We are first introduced to Priscilla in Acts 18. We know that she's the wife of a Jewish man named Aquila, and at this time they are fleeing Italy to Corinth because of the leader at the time kicking all Jews out of Rome. It is in Corinth where they meet up with Paul, and because Paul's a tent maker and Priscilla and Aquila are both tent makers, they form a friendship. Some back history that we do know when I was studying about Priscilla is that they were probably a prominent family, just based on the names. So when Priscilla and Aquila had to leave their home in Rome, it probably left a pretty big estate behind. They set sail with Paul to Syria, but Paul leaves them in Ephesus, I think that's how you pronounce it. But it is here that we see a big part of their story come into play. They run into a gentleman named Apollo. Apollo is a great teacher, except for the fact he doesn't really have the theology behind him. He's a good speaker, people like him, so they take Apollo in and they start to refine his teaching. We know that where two or more gather in Jesus' name, he is there. So they're essentially holding a church. The really cool thing about Priscilla's story is that she is seen as an equal to her husband. There's not a place in their story where the husband is referred to and she's not referred to by name. She's a tent maker with her husband. She travels with Paul. She opens her home. So she shows us a great deal of the idea of hosting and hospitality, which again, we know is super important. If you watched my video about Martha, you will know that Jesus does say that hospitality is really important, and we see that again within Priscilla. She left probably a big estate, and now she's probably dealing with not a lot of things, but yet she's still willing to open up her home and do God's work through what he has provided her with. Didn't have to be the best or the fanciest. She was still going to teach people about God. I also know through my study of Proverbs 31 that God calls women to be to utilize their hands and to make things. So the fact that she's a tent maker, which some people argue is like a leather maker, means that she has those skills and that she was willing to work and help provide for her family. I think the other cool thing about Priscilla is that we see her again in the Corinthians. It's 1 Corinthians 16:19. The churches in the province of Asia send you greetings. Aquila and Priscilla greet you warmly in the Lord, and so does the church that meets at their house. So they created a church. They took in these people, they followed God's plan, and they created a church inside their home. I don't know about you, but the idea of starting a church is honestly a very daunting thing. Like, I could not imagine the people who do it. But Priscilla's story is a pretty interesting story because of the fact that we see her by name in line with her husband. She's not underneath him, she's not below him, her husband isn't better. It's not Aquila and his wife. She is named by name. Whether we are married or we're not married, God intended women to have a place on this earth. He wouldn't have created us otherwise. I'm not saying that we are higher than our spouses in that our spouses shouldn't lead our family, because biblically I do believe that our spouse should lead our family. But that doesn't mean that a woman is lesser. It doesn't mean that their value or their role in their house is underneath the husband. It just means that we have different roles. We can see that in this story. So quick recap, she was cast out of Rome. She made friends with Paul and worked alongside Paul. She refines Apollo's teaching and helps create a church in her home. She's a wonderful woman who has hospitality, skills that she can utilize, and theology behind her. If you like this video, please like and subscribe so you're notified every time I post. Next week, we are going to go to 1 Samuel and learn about Hannah.